It is a waste of time hating a mirror or its reflection. Instead of stopping the hand that makes glass with distortions slight enough to go unnoticed. Until one day you peer into your face under a merciless white light, and the fault in the mirror slaps back, becoming what you think is the shape of your error. And if I'm beside that self, you destroy me. Or if you can see the mirror is lying, you shatter the glass, choosing another blindness and slashed, helpless hands. Because at the same time, down the street, a glassmaker is grinning, turning out new mirrors that lie, selling us new clowns at cut rate.
We were never meant to survive. When the sun rises, we're afraid that it will not remain. When the sun sets, we're afraid that it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we're afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we're afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we're afraid love will vanish. When we're alone, we're afraid love will never return. When we speak, we're afraid our words will not be heard, nor welcomed. But when we're silent, we're still afraid. So, it is better to speak, remembering.
It has rained for 5 days running. The world is a round puddle of sunless water where small islands are only beginning to cope. A young boy in my garden is bailing out water from his flower patch. When I ask him why, he tells me, young seeds that have not seen sun forget and drown easily.
Woman power is Black power, is human power. It's always feeling my heart beats as my eyes open, as my hands move, as my mouth speaks. Are you ready?
Of all the ways in which this country prints its death upon me, selling me cigarettes is one of the most certain. Yet every day I watch my son digging. Con Edison, General Motors, garbage disposal out of his nose as he watches a 3-second spot on how to stop smoking. And it makes me sick to my stomach. For it is not by cigarettes that you intend to destroy my children. Not even by the cold, white light of moonwalks, while half the boys I knew are doomed to quicker trips by a different capsule. No. The American cancer destroys by seductive and reluctant admission, for instance. Black women no longer give birth through their ears, and therefore must have a monthly need for iron. For instance, our pearly teeth are not racially insured, and therefore must be gleaned for fewer cavities. For instance, even though all astronauts are white, perhaps Black people can develop some of those human attributes, requiring dry dog food, frozen coffee, instant oatmeal, depilatories, deodorants, detergents, and other assorted plastics. And this is the surest sign I know that the American Cancer Society is dying. It has started to dump its symbols onto Black people, convincing proof that those symbols are now useless and far more lethal than emphysema.
When we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed. But when we are silent, we're still afraid, so it's better to speak.
When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid.
power is. Black power is. Human power is. Alwaysy feeling. My heart beats as my eyes open, as my hands move, as my mouth speaks. I am. Are you? Ready?
There are so many roots to the tree of anger that sometimes the branches shatter before they bear. Sitting in Nidrix, the women rally before they march, discussing the problematic girls they hired to make them free. An almost white counterman passes a waiting brother to serve them first, and the ladies neither notice nor reject the slighter pleasures of their slavery. But I, who am bound by my mirror as well as my bed, see causes in color as well as sex, and sit here wondering which me will survive all these liberations. Audre Lorde said, who said it was going to be simple.
Women who build nations learn to love men, who build nations learn to love children, building sandcastles by the rising sea.
For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. For those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, who love in doorways, coming and going in the hours between dawns, looking inward and outward, at once before and after, seeking a now that can breed futures, like bread in our children's mouths, so their dreams will not reflect the death of ours. For those of us who are imprinted with fear, like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk, for by this weapon, this illusion of some safety to be found, the heavy-footed hope to silence us, for all of us this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not return. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak remembering we were never meant to survive.
Life is very short, and what we have to do must be done in the now.
There are so many roots to the tree of anger, and sometime the branches shatter before they bear. Sitting in nettix, the women rally before they march, discussing the problematic girls they hire to make them free. An almost white counterman passes, waiting a brother to serve them first, and the ladies neither notice nor reject the slighter pleasures of their slavery. But who am I bound by my mirror, as well as my bed? See causes in color as well as sex, and sit here wondering which me will survive all these liberations.
Moon marked and touched by sun, my magic is unwritten, but when the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind. I seek no favor, untouched by blood, unrelenting as the curse of love, permanent as my errors on my pride. I do not mix love with pity, nor hate with scorn, and if you would know me, look into the entrails of Uranus, where the restless oceans pound.
Women who build nations learn to love. Men who build nations learn to love children. Building sandcastles by the rising sea.
I have not seen my father's grave. Not that his judgment's eyes have been forgotten, nor his great hands print on his evening doorknobs. One half turn each night, and he would come, grapple with world's business, massive and sound as the world days wish, ready to redefine each of our shapes, but not that now the evening doorknob wait, and do not recognize us as we pass. Each week a different woman, regular as his one quick glass each evening, pulls us the grass his stillness grows, calling it weed. Each week a different woman has my mother's face, and he who time has changeless must be amazed who knew and loved but one. My father died in silence, loving care, creation, and well-defined response. He lived still judgment on familiar things and died, knowing on January 15th that year me, lest I go into dust, I have not seen my father's grave.
The difference between poetry and rhetoric is being ready to kill yourself instead of your children. I have not been able to touch the destruction within me, but unless I learn to use the difference between poetry and rhetoric, my power too will run corrupt as poisonous mold, will lie limp and useless as an unconnected wire.
Woman power is black power, is human power, is always feeling my heart beats as my eyes open, as my hands move, as my mouth speaks, I am, or you.
The dreamer and his legends, arm at the edge of purpose. Waking, I see the people of winter putting off their masks to stain the earth red with blood, while on the outer edges of sleep, the people of sun are carving their own children into monuments of war. When I am obsolete, at once with the black earth, fire, I make my now, and power is spoken. Peace, at rest, and hungry means never or alone. I shall love again when I am obsolete.
Moon-minded, the sun goes farther from us, split into swirled days, smoked, unhungered, and unkept, no longer young. All the earth falls down like lost light, frightened out between my fingers. Here, at the end of night, our love is a burnt-out ocean, a dry-worded, brittle bed. Our roots, once nourished by the cool, lost water, cry out, remind us, and the oyster world cries out its pearls like tears. And was this the wild calling I heard in the long night past, wrapped up in a stone-closed house? I wakened to moon, and the sound breached dark, and thinking a new word spoken, some promise made, broke through the screaming night, seeking a gateway out. But the night was dark, and love was a burning fence about my house.
Sun shines so brightly on the hill that I can see each day patches of snow that fell this spring before you went away. And now that summer's near at hand, below the meadow springs, behind the trees at dawnlight, a songless lark now sings.
My children play with skulls, for their classrooms are guarded by warlocks who scream at the walls, collapsing into paper toilets. Plump witches mouth ancient curses in an untaught tongue, test children upon their meanings, assign grades in a holocaust, ranging from fury down through contempt. My children play with skulls at school. They have already learned to dream of dying in their playgrounds, where graveyards, where nightmares of no stood watch over rented earth, filled with the bones of tomorrow. My children play with skulls, and remember, for the embattled, there is no place that cannot be home, nor is.
History.
Bless me with my children's growing rebellion, with love in another tongue. Teach me what my pride will not savor, like the fabled memory of elephants. I have loved them and watched over them as the bird forgets, but the trap doesn't. And I shall be buried with the bones of an eagle, with a fierce detachment and legends of the slain buffalo. This is a country where other people live. When a gate replaces dead wood, slowly the opal and bone become one. A phoenix named Angela nests in my children's brain already. The growing herds of bison, unnoticed, are being hunted down the federal canyons of Yellowstone Park.
First, the plumbing breaks down, a minor valve slips with a hiss as the first guests sit down, a montadillo in hand. Between the leek soup and curried flounder, an era begins in the basement. The furnace gives up its cast iron forevers. Slowly the pump stutters, groans, refusing to move. We promise each other future celebrations.
Woman power is black power is human power is always feeling. My heart beats as my eyes open, as my hands move, as my mouth speaks. I am. Are you ready?
In this new picture, your smile has been toward. You are almost obscured by other faces on the pages. Those shadows are sisters. Who have not yet spoken, your face is in the shadow, obscured by the half-dark, by the thick bars running across your eyes like sentinels. All the baby fat has been burned away. Like a luxury, your body let it go. Reluctantly, the corners of your mouth turn down. I cannot look into your eyes. Who are all those others? Behind you, the shadows are growing lighter and more confusing. I dream of your freedom as my victory, and the victory of all dark women who forego the vanities of silence, who war and weep, sometimes against ourselves, in each other rather than our enemies. Falsehoods, Asada, my sister warrior, Joan of Arc, Ya Asanta embrace, at the back of your cell.
Rain falls like tear of my skin. My son picks up a chicken heart at dinner, asking, does this thing love?
Speckled fries leap from my mouth to drown in the coffee between our wisdoms and decision. I could smile and turn these frogs to pearls, speak of love, our making, our giving. And if the spell works, shall I break down our build, or build what is broken into a new house shook with confusion? Shall I strike before our magic turns color?
For Clifford it says, awakening, rumors of the necessity of your death are spread by persistent screaming flickers in the morning light. I lie, knowing it is past time for sacrifice. I burn, like the hungry tongue of an ochre fire, like a benediction of fury, pushing before the heel of the hand of the thunder goddess. Parting earth's folds with a searching finger, I yield one drop of blood, which I know instantly is lost. A man has himself appointed legal guardian of fetuses. Children, centuries of wasted children, warred and poured and slaughtered, anoint me guardian for life. But in the early light, another sacrifice is taken. Unchallenged, a small dark shape rolls down a hilly slope, dragging its tail of wasted blood upon the ground. I am broken into clefts of screaming that sound like drilling flickers in treacherous morning air on murdered sidewalks. I am bent forever, wiping up blood that should be you.
Dreams bite. Dreams bite the dreamer and his legends on at the edge of purpose. Waking, I see people of winter pull off their mask to stain the earth red with blood while on the edge of sleep. The people of the sun are carving their own children into monuments of war. When I am absolute at once with the black earth fire, I will make my nows and powers spoken. Peace at rest, and the hungry means never or alone. I shall love again when I am obsolete.
It is the worst of luck to bring into a new house from the old bread, salt, or broomstick. Salt, bread, and broom, be still. I leave you guardian against gone places I have loved. Your loss in a green promise making new. Salt, bread, and broom, remove me from the was I still am to now becoming. Here, this house, forever blessed.
For each of you, be who you are and will be. Learn to cherish that boisterous black angel that drives you up one day and down another, protecting the place where your power rises, running like hot blood from the same source as your pain. When you are hungry, learn to eat whatever sustains you until morning. But do not be misled by details simply because you live them. Do not let your head deny your hands any memory of what passes through them, nor your eyes, nor your heart. Everything can be useful except what is wasteful. You will need to remember this when you are accused of destruction. Even when they are dangerous, examine the heart of those machines you hate before you discard them, and never mourn the lack of their power, lest you be condemned to relive them. If you do not learn to hate, you will never be lonely enough to love easily, but will always be brave. Although it does not grow any easier, do not pretend to convenient beliefs, even when they are righteous. You will never be able to defend your city while shouting. Remember, our sun is not the most noteworthy star, only the nearest. Respect whatever pain you bring back from your dreaming, but do not look for new gods in the sea, nor in any part of a rainbow. Each time you love, love as deeply as if it were forever. Only nothing is eternal. Speak proudly to your children, wherever you may find them. Tell them, you are the offspring of slaves, and your mother was a princess in darkness.
Some women love to wait for a life, for a ring, in the June light, for a touch of the sun to heal them, for another woman's voice to make them whole, to untie their hands, put words in their mouths, form to their passages, sound to their screams, for some other sleeper to remember their future, their past. Some women wait for their right train in the wrong station, in the alleys of mourning, for the noon to holler the night come down. Some women wait for love to rise up, the child of their promise, to gather from earth what they do not plant, to claim pain for labor, to become the tip of an arrow to aim at the heart of now, but it never stays. Some women wait for visions that do not return, where they were not welcome. Naked for invitations to places they always wanted to visit, to be repeated. Some women wait for themselves around the next corner and call the empty spot peace, but the opposite of living is only not living, and the stars do not care. Some women wait for something to change, and nothing does change, so they change themselves.
As I grow up again, a little boy wears my mistakes like a favorite pair of shorts, outgrown at 6. My favorite excuse was morning, and I remember that I hated spring's change. At play within my childhood, my son works hard, learning the doors that do not open easily, and which clocks will not work. He toys with anger like a young cat, testing its edges, slashing through the discarded box, where I laid my childish dreams to rest and brought him brown and wriggling to his own house. He learns there through my era, winning with secrets I do not need to know.
These days, when you do say hello, I am never sure if you are being saucy or experimental or merely protecting some new position. Sometimes you gurgle while asleep, and I know tender places still intrigue you. Now, when you question me on love, shall I recommend a dictionary or myself? You are a child of the wind and ravens I created, always my daughter. I cannot recognize the currents where you swim and dart through my loving upstream to your final place of birth, but you never tire of hearing how I crept out of my mother's house at dawn with an olive suitcase crammed with books and fraudulent letters and an unplayed guitar. Sometimes I see myself flash through your eyes in a moment, caught between history and obedience. That moment grows each day before you comply, as when did washing dishes change from privilege to chore? I watch the hollows deepen above your hips and wonder if I taught you black enough, until I see all kinds of loving still intrigue you, as you grow more and more dark, rude and tender, and unafraid. What you took for granted once, you now refuse to take it all. Even I knock before I enter. The shoals of furious choices, not my own, that flood through your secret reading, nightly undercover. I have not yet seen you, but I hear the pages rustle from behind closed doors.
Head bent, walking through snow, I see Sebelisa, printed inside the back of my head like marks on the newly wrapped Akai that kept my sleep fruitful in Dahomey. And I poured on the red earth in your honor those ancient parts of me, most precious and least needed, my well-guarded past, the energy eating secrets. I surrender to you as liberation. Mother, illuminate my offering of old victories over men, over women, over myself. Who has ever been before dared to whittle into the night? Take my fear of being alone, like my warrior sisters who rode in defense of your queendom, disguised and apart. Give me the woman's strength of tongue in this cold season. Half earth and time splits us apart like struck rock. A piece lives elegant stories too simply put, while a dream on the edge of summer of brown rain in nim trees, snail cells from the dooryard of King Tofa. Bring me where my blood moves. Sabelisa, mother goddess, with one breast eaten away by worms of sorrow and loss. See me now, your severed daughter, laughing our name into echo, all the world shall remember. If you have come as softly as wind within the trees, you may hear what I hear, see what sorrow sees. If you come as lightly as the threading dew, I shall take you gladly, nor ask you more of you. You may sit beside me, silent as a breath, and only those who stay dead shall remember death. If you come, I will be silent, nor speak harsh words to you. I will not ask you why, now, nor how, nor what you knew. But we shall sit here softly beneath two different years, and the rich earth between us shall drink our tears.
Women who build nations learn to love men who build nations. Learn to love children building sandcastles by the rising sea.
In this new picture, your smile has been to war. You are almost obscured by other faces on the pages. Those shadows are sisters who have not yet spoken. Your face is in shadow, obscured by the half-dark, by the thick bars running across your eyes like sentinels. All the baby fat has been burned away. Like a luxury, your body let go reluctantly. The corners of your mouth turned down. I cannot look into your eyes. Who are all those others behind you? The shadows are growing lighter and more confusing.
I dream of your freedom as my victory, and the victory of all dark women, who forego the vanities of silence, who war and whip, sometimes against ourselves, in each other, rather than our enemies. Falsehoods. Asata, my sister warrior, Joanne of Arc, Ya, a centaur, embrace the back of your cell.
I don't need to be rich, just able to know how it feels to get bored with anemones.
In this new picture, your smile has been toward. You are almost obscured by other faces on the pages. Those shadows are sisters who have not yet spoken. Your face is in shadow, obscured by the half-dark, by the thick bars running across your eyes like sentinels. My mother had two faces in a frying pot, where she cooked up her daughters into girls before she fixed our dinner. My mother had two faces and a broken pot where she hid out a perfect daughter who was not me. I am the sun and moon and forever hungry for her eyes.